Hey everyone, it's the Girl Dad Girls back with you. It's Rachel here.
Brianna here.
Hey, it's your girl Danny B. And we have with us our friend Kizzy all the way from Europe. um Kizzy, can we say where you're from in Europe?
Yeah.
Okay, from Scotland, right?
Yep. Scotland.
Okay. I guess that is that as close as we want to go.
I'm.
Yes.
Yeah, I think
Yes.
so.
Okay.
I think
Yeah.
don't need
Okay.
any more. I
Fine.
think probably on Reddit and things, I've given enough away about my actual location. But yeah, we'll leave it at
Yeah.
Scotland.
Don't give them too much.
Yeah. I love it. Well, cool. Well, so yeah, so we have Kizzy here. This is our first interview with someone else. Who's not just we're not talking about ourselves. So yeah, so what we're gonna do is we're just gonna just pick the crumbs out of Kizzy's brain.
Careful.
Yeah. This is
Yeah,
a
fun
G-rated
times.
pod.
This is a podcast for all the kids.
This is a family.
Um, so yeah, I guess like can we just go ahead and Kizzy, can you give us like just sort of like a who you are, how you like just a short little bio about you, anything you want to share. Kizzy, who are you?
Well, that's a question I've asked myself a lot over the last 6 months to a year.
Right?
Yeah.
Guilty.
So I'm Kizzy or Kezia. So that's my name.
I love that name,
I
by the way. It's so cute.
thank you. It's a family name, in fact. So that was my mum that actually gave me that name, which is nice. That's kind of quite a nice bit of circularity, is that she gave me my birth name and now has given me my actual name. So I'm older than everyone here. I'm 40. I
You don't
am
look it. You
Scottish,
don't
as
look
you've
it.
already said.
You don't look it. You look fantastic.
Oh, thank you very much.
Still the youngest.
Second oldest, right?
All
Oh,
right, okay, we'll get the bragging. Um, so I've been medically transitioning for what, nearly 5 months now. And I am married. I've got two kids. I've got two daughters, age 7 and 9. They are both extremely supportive of me, and really the strength that gives me the power to keep going. And my wife is really supportive as well. So I've got this fantastic wee family that supports me. What else can I say about myself? Yeah, I mean, in terms of what do I do, I think we've kind of covered who I am. So I'm a doctor, which brings its
Ah,
own challenges to transition, which maybe we'll talk about later on. Um, and yeah, there's
yeah.
there's who I am at the moment.
Um. So, Kizzy, will you give us a rundown of like when you realized that you were trans, and like, I guess like how did you come to that realization?
How long have you got? Um,
At least an
so
hour. I forgot to start a timer. Cool.
you know the like this is something I've been through with the gender clinic and all that kind of stuff. So it's now fairly set in my mind of as what happened to me. Um, so I can trace being not trans, but having gender identity questions back to the age of maybe 6 or 7. I think that's round about the age, and the kind of the experience. I think lots of people have one experience that sticks in their mind of
Yes.
when it happened, and when you go, oh, there's something. And that was when I had a best friend who I knew from the age of about 4, and we were on a little family holiday just in Scotland, and all the adults were walking in front of us, and I was walking along with my best friend, linked arms. And as little boys do sometimes, we were just like, we're such good mates, let's get married. And it's all very innocent. And as soon as we said that, I can absolutely remember thinking, I'm going to wear the wedding dress. And just having that in my head as like absolutely natural. Of course I would, because, you know, that's me. And then not really having any feeling at that point that it was anything other than just, you know, that's what I would do. And then, you know, later on, that then changed. And the thing that changed is, you know, growing up in the society culture of the 80s and 90s, where like being trans just wasn't talked about. And the only kind of representation I ever saw was negative. So it was like butt of the joke. It was the degenerate. It was the monster was what a trans person was. And you know, that then changed my ideas of who I was and what I could do. And I was never that kid that played with Barbies and dressed up in pink from the age of like 3 or anything like that. Did a little bit later on, but you know, so that was all internalized. And you know, I then from quite an early age then associated that side of me with negative things, and sort of all the negative emotions and the negative feelings about being trans started kind of what, age 11 or 12, when I realized that there was something just a bit different. I couldn't quite place what it was, and I didn't have the language or the reference to be able to say, you know, this is who I am.
What do you mean the negative feelings? What does that mean?
So you know, like I've talked to people about this, is that people talk about dysphoria. The biggest emotion I had for the longest time was shame, of just feeling that I was, with shame, and I was ashamed of myself. And I think shame is quite a personal thing. So I think there's a difference between shame and embarrassment. And embarrassment is like what you have is that other people see you and then you feel embarrassed about it. Whereas shame is a personal thing that you feel like in your house on your own. And it's like, it doesn't matter what other people think, it's how you feel about yourself. And so I had that shame that then developed into, I don't know, kind of self-loathing and like lack of self-worth and all these kind of things, which, you know, lasted for literally over 3 decades, despite all the other things that went on in my life. So like, I'm quite a driven person. You know, I like went to medical school age 17. I was a doctor when I was 22. I've got my current job, which, you know, I'll not go into because I don't really want, I'm not out at work yet, so I don't want people to know that part of it. But, you know, like I've achieved things in my life. I've got a wife, I've got a family, but then there was still that bit of me that just felt that, you know, it was that imposter syndrome thing, is that there was a big part of me that thought it was all going to come crashing down at some point because I was going to get found out and I'd deserve it. And that was a real strong emotion, particularly in my 30s, of that, like, things are going to go wrong and I'm going to deserve it because this is what's going on in the background. But along with all that is the utter denial of the fact that I was trans, just complete denial. I had the usual mantra of, I am cis, I'm not trans, no. Can't happen to me. And just completely ignored it until 6 months before I turned 40. And then, yeah, I don't know if you want to go into that kind of side of stuff. I've talked quite a bit. I don't know if that's the point of things, but
that's what you're here for. You're the guest.
Okay.
Yeah, like no, we love hearing that kind of, like, yeah, absolutely. If you want to go into like what was the catalyst that like made you come out?
It's a good question, and it's one that I've not really been able to work out what the catalyst was. I was kind of existentially unhappy for a good number of years. You know, there's this thing about I got married, I had kids, I'd loved all of that side of my life, but then there was just still something that I couldn't quite get rid of. And no matter how hard I tried to ignore it, no matter how hard I put my efforts into everything else, there was still that other little bit. And that's again where the guilt came in, is that I kind of looked at myself and thought, even though I've got all of this, there's still this thing that I just can't ignore. And I had been ignoring it. And there was 1 week last summer where my wife took the kids away for a week with her parents. So I went and stayed in London. I was left on my own. And, I'm not quite sure what prompted it, but at one point I remember staring in the mirror, and I've always been quite an accepting person to anybody that's in the kind of queer space, LGBTQ plus, all that. I've been completely accepting. And I just remember a particular moment looking in the mirror and thinking to myself, if you can be accepting of everybody else, why can't you do that for yourself?
Yeah, absolutely.
And it was honestly like just a switch in my brain, and then this weight going off my shoulders, and I forgave myself, and I let the shame go. And then I was just like, right, we're gonna look at you, and we're gonna deal with what's been going on for 30 years. And at that point, I then thought, okay, I think I might be bigender. So I thought I was bigender initially.
What did you like? What does bigender mean? Like, what do you mean by that?
That's a good question. Lots of good questions. I don't really know. I thought I was able to have a part living as a man, part living as a woman, somewhere
So
in
kind of,
between. I
so
guess
kind of like gender fluid.
I think so. And I at that point I wasn't able to, describe myself. I didn't have the language to describe how I was feeling. I didn't know what was really kind of going on with me. But the important part was that I accepted that I wasn't cis, and there was something going on that I needed to explore.
Yeah.
And the biggest part of that is that when I did that, my mental health had such a massive jump up, and it just, all this weight off my shoulders. And honestly, the act of forgiving myself and letting the shame go made a big difference. And I've looked back at photos of me in the months leading up for that, and I was bloated. I'd been coping with really terrible coping mechanisms. At that point, I was 108 kilos. I'm a big person. Like I'm 6'3". So that was a BMI of round about 30, and I think most people said I carried it reasonably well, but I look very different now than I did back then. And the act of that mental health improving meant that then I could dedicate myself to going, right, I'm going to be healthy. And
look up what
4.5 months later, I was 28 kilos lighter, which in American terms, I think that's like 62 pounds, 63 pounds, something like that lighter.
Wow.
Okay. Oh wow. So 108 kilos for those who are listening is 238.099 pounds.
Damn.
Wow. I mean, but honestly, at 6'3", that actually like makes a lot. Like, I'm not like that's a reasonable weight.
Yeah.
Honestly. Oh, so go ahead.
The people I know at work used to refer to me as Papa Bear. And I was like a big, large unit, and now I get called Skeletor.
Well, which one's better?
It's fine. I don't know. I think if they knew, so I'm not out at work. I'm out to a few friends at work, but I think if they knew, they'd maybe pull back on the Skeletor comments. But I'll take it.
So I've realized we did not talk about this in our initial episode. Like, would y'all be interested in like Rachel and Bree going through, like, when was the time when you realized this is the defining moment when I needed to come out? Like,
Yeah, I was about to circle back to that before we got too far away from it. Because I had the same experience that you did, Kiz. There was a middle point where I thought I was legit non-binary. And I was incredibly wrong. I think I was really trying to meet my ex somewhere in the middle. she was kind of trying to figure out how to make that work, as much as it was doomed to not work. She made certain requests, and I just mentally couldn't fulfill those. Um, it all came back from when I got sober in 2019. I just hit I hit a wall of why this was happening, and just when the clarity hit after the 10-year drinking cloud lifted, I just completely figured out what the issue was. And like I've told a few other people, it started just coming out. I couldn't do anything about it. Just this woman was clawing her way out of my skin, and the old me was just slowly sinking into the swamp behind me. So that's
She's
so
beautiful.
2019, 2020, 2021, those were some pretty torrential years of mental maelstrom and figuring this out. But we ended up on the other side.
I love that. I love that word, maelstrom.
Me too. Me too, right?
And also, like, I'm so glad she clawed her way out. You are fantastic. So,
Thank you.
oh yeah, Rachel, enlighten us.
Okay. So I'm one of those trans girls who, I don't know, like the first inclination was when I was like 5 or 6 years old. Um, just honestly, I was very self-conscious about my naked body, my genital area, and that's really weird for a 5 or 6 year old child
Yeah,
to say. You know what I mean?
absolutely.
And like it's not like one of those situations where like I was teased, I was abused, anything like that. Like I had a very good upbringing. It wasn't anything like that. It was just a genuine just a like it was a weird thing for me. It was a self-consciousness. Um and it's really funny. Growing up, my father was a professional photographer. So there's pictures galore of me through different stages of my childhood. In every single picture, I had a different hairstyle, different hair color, different fashion sense. Like just honestly for years trying to figure out what fit, what felt right, what felt at
Yeah,
home.
yeah.
But the honestly for me, what I would say was like the defining moment, and this is gonna sound really weird, but my defining moment, I remember being at Toys R Us. They were having a going out of business sale. And we were there purely to get clothes for my daughter who was not born at the current moment. And so I'm sitting here grabbing all these frilly dresses and everything of that sort. And like honestly feeling slightly jealous that she gets to wear all these cute clothes. And
Right.
it was a weird feeling. And I kind of marinated on it for like 48 hours. And I'm sitting here, I'm like, well, this is bad timing. Like, I've got a child on the way. My wife would never accept this. Like, this is bad timing. So I just told myself, no, like, we're just gonna stuff this deep down inside. It's never gonna see the light of day. It's fine. Like, we've pushed through for what, 25 years at this moment. Like, we can keep going, right? Um, and I wasn't the best spouse because I just mentally was not there all the time. Emotionally, I was very numb. So I wasn't, the best spouse to my wife. And because of that, just naturally, we had gotten divorced. And when we had gotten divorced, kiddo was maybe 2 months away from her second birthday. And so I kind of had this little moment with myself where I'm like, yo, marriage isn't an excuse anymore. Like, that's gone. Kiddo is still young. If we're having these feelings, wouldn't it be better to act on it while she's still young?
Yeah, exactly.
And so that's exactly what I did.
Yeah.
And so I, at that moment, like literally, we filed for divorce in March. I started hormones in April. Like it was, we wasted no time.
Well, but
Um,
of everyone here, you've been on hormone. You've been on hormones for 2 years. That was March of 2021.
no, 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 no. That was March of 2019.
Oh wow! That good, goodness, that's
Yeah,
amazing. Like, wow, you are like our like fairy godmother.
literally, literally.
Yeah.
um, any advice for us newbies?
Honestly, my biggest piece of advice is it's a marathon. It's not a sprint. I know for me, like literally the entire first year of my medical transition was just getting my dosages right. Nothing about my dosage was easy to find. My levels were too low, then they were way too high, and then we were slowly reining it back down in to where it wasn't at literal dangerous levels. So like that whole first year was just almost a, as far as progress goes, a waste. As far as like growth that I saw, progress, feminizing progress I made, there was none. Just being straight, there was none. Um, and at the time, I literally about threw in the towel because I'm like, this isn't working for me. Like, I'm not gonna get the results I want. I waited too long. I'm too old. Um, and I'm not getting the results I want. Like, this is stupid.
Fudge,
And
fudge.
then fast forward to, to today. Fast forward to today, and I'm extremely happy with my progress. I'm happier than I've ever been, healthier than I've ever been. I'm in freaking modeling. Like, if you would have told the male version of me that I would have been in modeling, I would have told you that you are
Yeah,
batshit crazy.
you look
So
freaking tastic, baby. So
thank you.
11 out of 10 would hit it. So
12 out of 10.
damn it! All right,
So
Bree wins.
I mean that's my honestly that's my biggest piece of advice is don't get discouraged by the immediate onset because it just takes time. Along with that, another big piece of advice I would tell you is when you come out fully, you're gonna lose people. If you tell yourself that everyone's gonna be accepting, everyone in your community is gonna be accepting, I'm going to tell you right now, you're lying to yourself. You're lying. You're going to lose
Yep.
people. Shoot, my best friends from high school have zero communication with me. Hard stop. Um, but you know what? Like some people I went to high school with that maybe I wasn't as close with are now some of my best friends. Um, for every person in my friend group that I may have lost, I gained at least 10 more.
Yeah.
It's
I mean,
people call it the trans community for a reason. Um,
I've met several people on Instagram and Reddit. I met this very tall girl from Scotland on Reddit, and like we became friends. And
can
she's
I
a
just say,
giant
like,
freaking
I love
nerd,
how we all started on Reddit.
Uh-huh.
right?
If you
It's
dig
it
deep,
just seemed to be the
enough,
place to go.
if you
Yeah.
dig deep enough in Reddit, you will find.
Right?
I think I think my screen name on Reddit literally is something along the lines of ravishing Rachel. That's like been my tagline since day one.
Oh wow! Like you actually like stuck with like because I was Danny B. That's me, and because I like to rhyme because I'm 5 apparently.
You're a poet and you didn't know it.
um, but actually, that is how I met Kizzy though. We were I saw this girl who posted this picture, and she was like, "I am like lording above all these other girls at the bar," and I was like, "Oh, I would totally go up and give you my number." And it was this gorgeous Scottish girl, and that's like I think we just started talking to that, right, Kizzy?
Yeah, I think so. You
Oh,
you made a very pleasant comment about me being. I think I was literally a head and shoulders above everybody else in the pub that I was in, which isn't, that happens
you
quite
hang out with
often.
tiny people.
It's more that I'm like, I was wearing heels that night, and I'm over 2 meters tall in heels. So people would have to work quite hard to catch up to me. So yeah, I posted a photo of me just like with a sea of heads around here. And yeah, you then made a nice comment, and I made a nice comment back, and yeah, it's lovely.
Yeah.
Um, and that's been what, that was probably 3 months ago, maybe a bit more than that.
Let's
Does
say
Was it
four.
longer than that?
About
is
four.
isn't it crazy how like we like in this community we feel like we know each other so well. Like I feel like I've known all of you actually like for like years because I it's like I feel so comfortable with you.
I
Then
feel
Um
like
you get past that awkward phase quite quickly when you start talking about hormones, when you start talking about
yeah,
all the
like
physical
I
changes that you're having, and then you say, "Oh my God, is this normal?" And people are just like,
yeah.
"Yes."
There's a certain expediency to hey, what's your penis look like? It's like okay, cool, all right. Well, mine doesn't look like that, so
Oh my God.
um, um, Kizzy. So we do have questions if you're willing
Wait,
to.
wait, Danny. We've been through everybody else. Now you need to tell your story as well, don't you?
Oh,
Sorry to
my
take over your podcast, but
oh oh well it's my story's not interesting. I was 5 and we were pretending to be dogs, and I asked my mom. I said, "Hey, mom, can I pretend to be a girl dog?" And she was drinking at the time because God, like Breers drink apparently. Oh, mm. But yeah, she was like, "Yeah, okay, whatever." And then fast forward years and years and years, and I actually started in 2017. I started hormones for about a month, um, and convinced myself that it was just a phase. And I was like, "Oh no, it's just a phase. I'm over this. I'm I like maybe I was a cross dresser, but not like transgender." And come 2022, I'm like, this is eating me alive. I can't not do this anymore. I'm gonna propose this to my wife and see what happens. I proposed it and she was like out. So yeah, it's been an ongoing. I remember when I was a teenager, I like saved up enough rubber bands to castrate myself, and I was like, that's a pretty drastic decision at that point. When you're 12 years old, you're like, you know what? I hate these things. Get rid of them. Um, so
That's a
like
new
at that
fact value I didn't know.
at that point, I was like, you know what? Something's up. But yeah, no,
let's bury it for 25, 30 years and see what happens.
Yeah,
yeah, oh,
that's
absolutely. I mean, that's like that's the best thing to do is to just bury those feelings, right?
um
bury
random
bury that
question, Danny.
landmine.
Random question. I'm gonna just double back to that real quick. So you started hormones in 2017. How long before you stopped? Just curious.
So I was on them for a month, and then I told myself I was too old. I was too tall. First, I was too tall. I was gonna like so because for those of you who know me, like I was an okay looking guy. I wasn't ugly. I thought I was okay looking. I was doing well for myself as a guy, and I was like, what if I turn out to be an ugly girl? Although, what I will notice from all of us is we've all stepped up our game. Like the guy you were, you're a hotter girl. Like each one of you and you. Yeah, all three of you are much hotter girls than you were guys. So I will say, anybody who's thinking about it, it's like you kind of up your game. um, But
Um,
yeah, no, I had this litany of reasons in my head saying, no, don't do it. Don't do it, dummy.
so so back in 2017, when you started hormones for the first time, were you married at that time? Not married at
No,
that
oh no,
time?
I was single, and yeah, I told myself I was going to be single forever. I was like, there's no way someone's going to fall in love with a golly, that was 34. I was like, if I'm a 30, I'd be a 34-year-old trans girl. Ugh, who would like that? And like now I'm a 38-year-old divorced trans girl. So I'm like,
Yeah.
that's better, right? Much
That's
better.
always
But
better.
that's the realization that you come to, is that the most important reason is for yourself. It's not for anyone
Yeah,
else.
absolutely.
And
Yeah.
I went into it fully knowing what I was putting at risk. Is I had a happy marriage. I've now been married 13 years. I've got
Oh,
two
wow.
kids,
That's
got a
awesome.
career, I've got a family. All of that's put on the line. But once that switch went off, and I knew that's who I was, it was that was the only option. And I've kind of had that argument with a few people of, well, it's a choice, and I kind of say,
If
well,
if it's a
it's the
choice,
same.
then fucking choose it. Sorry. If
But
it's
it's
sorry,
like
I'll bleep that
saying
out.
it's a choice. Yeah, okay, fine, it's a choice. But if you are in a car traveling 60 miles an hour going towards a wall, you could choose not to stamp on the brakes, but
Yeah.
you know you do. Um,
And
Yeah.
and that
that's not a
and
choice.
that honest to goodness, because transitioning is a choice. Like there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. It is a choice. But what you just described is so spot on. You're not like it's not even funny. Like what you described is so spot on. Because like me, I didn't have to transition, but let me tell you, I was going very fast on a collision course that was not going to end well.
Yeah.
Um,
Absolutely.
and
Same. Same. Yeah.
and literally like I was having this conversation with my boyfriend a couple nights ago, that had I not done that, had I not transitioned, I honestly don't know for certain if I would be here right now, because at 28 years old I was constantly playing this game of trying to one up myself to prove just how masculine I was, and it was a collision course. So yeah, like this was a choice, but it was a choice that probably saved me from having a very, very, very gnarly accident.
No, I mean, same. Like I was drinking pretty heavily, and it was because I was so unhappy with my body. Like I was like, I would work out, and the more I'd work out, the less I'd like myself. So, um, but yeah. So, um, anyways, sorry, um, yeah. It's definitely like a it's not a choice. Everybody keeps saying it's a choice, and it's like, dude, it's not a choice. If it's a choice, then choose it. Then yeah, it's a cool, like, choose it for a little bit, and become trans and see how it's like to be like us. So
It's kind of what I explained to my ex when she asked me, like, at the root of all this, like, hey, you can either have a woman that has the best form of herself at the table to take care of our daughter, or in a year you could have been dealing with a suicide of your husband.
yes, yes, exactly.
What's better?
A
I'm
functional parent.
Anyway, happier thoughts.
yeah.
Um, Is you
It
have a
is.
procedure coming up. That's exciting.
Oh yeah, yeah, Kiz. So Kiz, tell us. Like, you've been planning some procedures. Please tell us what you have, and if you want to give details about when, it'd be awesome.
I'm fairly open with the. So it's FFS. So as my wife calls, for fuck's sake, surgery. Um, facial feminization
bleep that
surgery. Mainly FFS because of the cost it's going to be. But I kind of view it as a pubertal reset is what a few people kind of describe it as in reversing what a testosterone puberty has done to my face. And then going a little bit further, because, you know, if you're going to spend that amount of money, you might as well try and be pretty with it as well. And I've got loads of masculine features to my face. Some bits that I've always hated. I've always hated my nose. I've broken it at least 2 or 3 times. Some due to rugby, some due to altercations after hours that were not my fault.
What? After the podcast, we're gonna end the video and we're gonna do a secondary follow up of talking about how Kizzy
going through
got
all
into
of my injuries that I've had.
fights. Okay, but yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so my brow, I've got a very pronounced brow. I've got a big nose with a big break in it. Sticks off the sides, all kinds of stuff.
Do you have a deviated septum? Is that what that?
I do have a deviated septum that causes me problems breathing. So, you know, it's a medical necessity, isn't it?
Hey, kindred spirits.
There we go. Yeah, so I've got FFS planned for April. Sadly, due to the state of the NHS at the moment, a lot of trans healthcare is not available.
What is? Sorry, will you describe what is that in NHS?
NHS, National Health Service.
So we're all US based. Will you describe that? Like one of the things we wanted to talk about was health, like trans health in another country. So like, do you mind going into that? Is that okay?
So for people that don't know what the NHS is, it's been around since just post-war, and it's social healthcare. So socialized healthcare. So it's free at the point of access. And that's not free healthcare. So loads of people say the NHS is free. It's not free. It costs a lot of money, but it's paid for by taxes. And, you know, with our income tax, it's means tested. So if you earn a lot of money, you pay more tax, blah, 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 not enough. And that means we have a lot of rationing, and we have a lot of you know, weighing up whether something is worth paying for versus saying, well, actually, no, we need to spend our money elsewhere. And at the moment, the balance is completely wrong for trans healthcare. And the waiting lists to see an NHS gender identity clinic are somewhere on the order of 6 to 7 years. So from referral, it will be 6 to 7 years before your first appointment.
That's just for a consult?
For a consult, yeah. And that's not to get started on treatment. That means that you're seen. You then have to see a psychiatrist or a psychologist, which is another appointment. And then you need to go back to see the gender identity clinic to then start your hormones. So actually, it may be 6 to 7 years before hormones, actually. Maybe the first appointment's a bit quicker than that. So that's not great. And the surgery that the NHS covers is quite narrow in its you know, scope for that. So I'm lucky enough that I have been able to go the private route. So I accepted that I was transgender in November 2022. I had my first private gender clinic appointment in, I think, April. But I'd already started DIY HRT before that. So I'd done about a month and a half of DIY before that. And I've got a bit of it's a particular kind of personality that I've got, where if I decide on something, that's it, I'm done. No more havering about. So I very quickly had a surgical consult with a team in Spain to do my facial surgery. And they are our kind of European experts with it. So I've got that planned for April, which I'm weirdly looking forward to. And the reason I'm looking forward to it is I'm not out at work. I'm out generally to a lot of my friends and family, but then I'll have about 6 weeks off after my surgery to then do a legal and a full social transition. And then at the end of that time period, I'll go back to work, fully socially transitioned, and, you know, high five the boy and then leave him behind,
I
Oh.
love
which
that
I'm
for
looking
you.
forward to.
So okay, so you have that planned out. Actually, in that same vein, Bree and Rachel, do y'all have FFS scheduled, or like or any other surgeries, like anything? I figure we all these things we've never talked about. um but like Bree, no FFS, like
I can't even begin to even entertain the idea, just with the massive amount of cheddar and lettuce it takes to pay for that.
yeah. I did
Like,
have oh yeah, good.
my insurance doesn't cover that. My insurance only covers breast augmentation, which I don't want. I'm happy with these
You do
as
have
they are.
you do have tickle bitties, so
They're medium bitties. They will cover a vaginoplasty, which I don't want, and they'll cover an orchid, which I do want. So I will probably maybe try and get that done before I leave Austin.
also that puppy dog in the background is so freaking cute. Oh, also okay, so let's talk about this for a second. So you have an amazing puppy dog. Puppy dog. um that oh yeah, oh hey puppy, hey puppy dog. um Rachel, do you have any surgeries coming up that you're excited about?
So short game, no. Um, Back, let's see, 2.5 years ago, I had a breast augmentation that, thanks to a nice little loophole, was paid 100% by Starbucks Coffee Company.
Oh, damn you.
Oh yeah.
Thank you, Starbucks.
That loophole.
Um,
Wait, you could do, like is that like is that a star points thing? You save enough stars, you get like it's like, hey, by the
so
way, here's a free coffee, but if you save up 5,000 stars, you get a free breast augmentation. It's like yes.
so the way the game used to be played, if you had insurance through Starbucks, which only requires you to average 20 hours a week for 3 months.
That's actually
Super simple.
fantastic though. That's
Super
awesome.
simple. If
Great.
you get insurance through Starbucks, they cover pretty much any and all trans related surgeries. Um, and some of them they cover at 100%. One of them being breast augmentation. I got these puppies installed at Vanderbilt University in Nashville. The bill came to me in the mail, and yes, the bill came to me in the mail, and let me tell you, I about shit a brick when I opened that bill and saw that these guys costed $32,000.
Oh, I'd pay every cent of that for the oh
But
wow.
then when I looked at the bill, I saw literally Vanderbilt nickel and dimed them because they knew that it was going to be covered 100%.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh,
Um,
totally.
I
Absolutely.
didn't know at the time that Starbucks would also cover FFS at 100%. Otherwise, I probably would have done that too. But now they don't cover it at 100%. You have to meet your deductible first, and the deductible on their insurance plans is usually about $7,000. So for that, nah, I'm good.
Yeah. Not worth it.
But thank you for the breast augmentation. Um, Now I'm one who I tend to only be able to focus on one thing at a time. Just how I am. And right now my big focus is I am looking at getting a vaginoplasty. Um right now I'm working on getting hair free down there in preparation for surgery. So I'm working with a clinic down in Nashville to get that done so that I can actually have the surgery. I'd say I'm probably about a year out of actually getting the operation. But past that, I've considered FFS, but it would be very, very, very light. Maybe just, a quick little reduction of the brow ridge. a little tracheal shave, and that's honestly where I would probably end it. Just because I do like my face. There's just a
You have a
few.
gorgeous face.
Thank you.
You damn
There's
jerk.
a jerk.
You
There's
damn
just
jerk with your gorgeous face.
there's just a few things I'd want to, maybe get done. That and also, maybe a little bit of a hairline transplant so I can get rid of this widow's peak that I've hated since I was like 7. But, tweaking.
For sure. Yeah.
That's just
Yeah.
it's such a strange thing talking to people about facial surgery. Like I talk to my cis female friends, and they're all just like, "Oh, you don't need it. You don't need it."
Right. Yeah. Everybody keeps saying
And
that.
you know, I fine. Loads of people don't need it. But I think there's a misunderstanding about what gender dysphoria is versus what dysmorphia is. And they say, "Oh, every woman wants to look more beautiful. Every woman wants to have something that they've got about them," and I accept that. And I think I always say that dysmorphia and dysphoria go hand in hand because they are such similar things. But
Yeah.
there are certain things that no matter what I do, I'll always look in the mirror and I'll catch my profile and see certain things and be like, that's the masculine part, and I want rid of that. And that's very difficult to communicate to anybody that doesn't have gender dysphoria. There'll be people that have that have dysmorphia and they think, "Oh, I wish I had a nicer nose," and I accept that part of me is I just don't like my nose. But part of it is because it's quite a masculine nose. And it's that really difficult balance between, do I need it? Is it gender based? But actually, it comes down to the fact that there's a little bit of both in it for me and for a lot of people, I think.
Well,
Yeah.
also, how much of that is just because you've seen it on yourself for the last, for you 25 years because you're 25 and like we're both 25 and that's where we stop. I've been 25 for 13 years and this is where I am, but
Very grey for a 25-year-old.
but like a certain thing where like you see it in the mirror and you recognize it on yourself and you're like, that is a male feature, but it's like it's not an indication for anybody else, but it's because it's something that we clue into that like this is not attractive. Like
I have friends who are trans doctors, and some of them who deal with patients who are anesthetized.
wait, they're doctors who deal with trans, or they are trans
They are
themselves?
trans themselves.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah.
And one of the issues that they have is that they'll have a patient who talks to them, genders them correctly, and then as soon as the anesthetic comes on board and they see them, they get misgendered. And it's because there's a conscious overriding of the subconscious that people do. Polite people will do that. And they might look at somebody and say, okay, I'm going to gender them in the way that they're presenting. But then there is a subconscious reading of a face, reading of a lot of things that loses when you get either drunk or you get anesthetized or whatever. And these people I've spoken to have said they hate it, and that's why they have gone for facial surgery. And I think there is just that automatic thing that happens where there are gender markers that people read subconsciously and then will override them consciously. But I don't want that subconscious bit. I would like people to subconsciously perceive me as female, and that is one of the reasons why I'm doing the facial surgery. And that's not right for everybody,
Yeah.
So it's like everything with trans healthcare and like everything with the story and history that people have as a trans person, it's individual. There are shared moments, shared similarities, but it's individual.
And a lot of things like with surgery for me, I always say I'm transitioning for me, not for anyone else. And honestly, that's
Yes,
and
exactly.
honestly,
Oh
that's
yeah.
the God honest truth. Like just a few things, like my breast augmentation gave me so much confidence in just being who I am. But on top of that, like with my vaginoplasty that I'm looking at getting, right? Like I just think about it and I hate as much as I'm in the gym, I hate having to always be concerned with how tight my tuck is when I'm wearing leggings at the gym. I don't want that to be in the forefront of my mind when I'm at the gym trying to work out. I hate
Yeah.
how I always am constantly worried about how tight my tuck is if I'm at the pool in a
I
bikini.
I do that when
And
I'm running. Yeah, I'm like
right.
like every now and then I'll look down and be like, oh nope, it's still down. Like it's not flopping around like a like a like
And,
a like a wild fish.
and even like going into
Sorry, Bree. Sorry.
even
Sorry. Okay, Bree, I'm
even
sorry.
Just mental images.
even going into things like FFS, like I mentioned, a tracheal shave. Um,
Yeah.
I I don't know. Like I work in banking. I work with people every day, and like customer facing, right? And when I'm with a client, the last thing I want to worry about is if I start laughing, do you see my Adam's apple? Like, so for me,
Baby.
I,
Oh, baby.
like um it's not a I don't I want to change how you see me like that because that's not my end goal. My end goal is I want to be comfortable in my own skin. And so if there's
Totally.
something that makes me uncomfortable, one way or another, I'm gonna change it. And so that's where I'm at.
I, you you look fucking fantastic. Oh, sorry. Flip. Darn it. I'm having blip myself all the time. You look flippin' fantastic.
Well, like,
Hang on. Hey, so I realize we need to like ask Kizzy some of these questions because oh my
yeah,
gosh, I have so many questions, Kizzy. Um, I'm gonna do the most I'm gonna do the most fun one though. Okay, Kizzy, you ready?
Yeah, I'm excited.
What impact has social media had on your transition?
Oh God, such a massive impact. Like from pre-transition as well. In the years where I still was uh, desperately clawing onto my cisgenderness and pretending that I'm not trans, visiting and as we said, Reddit. I'd have the
Totally.
trans timelines Reddit on my iPad, and I'd pop into it every now and again and go, "Well, that's interesting. Yes, that's interesting. I'm still cis, but that's interesting." And try to downplay the
Oh
utter
yeah, no, that's them. That's them.
jealousy, yeah, that
Definitely
I
them.
had of people doing that. But I was still cis, and that point is actually quite important to me because it took me. It's just this weird cognitive dissonance where you can do that and then still say, no, I'm not trans. And that was important because I still don't think I was lying to my wife. And that's really important. I don't think I was lying to my wife about where I was. I didn't think I was trans. There were all these things, but I'd just be like, no, that's just like everyone does that. I mean, everyone looks at Face App, makes himself into a woman, and then has an existential crisis for 3 weeks solid and
I
can't
mean,
get to sleep.
I
Like, I
do.
mean, come on, everyone does that.
Yeah.
Um,
I call those days weekdays. So
yeah, exactly. So yeah, so like even before transition, big impact, and then afterwards, I just like it goes back to that the fact that growing up, I had zero positive trans role models, zero positive trans representation. And then social media, when you find those spaces and you see people who are successfully transitioning, who are happy, who have made that decision, you go, this might actually be all right. And you go, well, there's somebody who's in a similar situation. It might be all right. And you also see, holy shit, this is going to be difficult. This is going to be like the most difficult thing I'll ever do, but it's
Yeah,
worth it.
absolutely.
And it's that sort of inspiration and the motivation from seeing other people, seeing that trans joy, the visibility that, all those things are amazing.
Yes.
And I use it quite a bit for like the affirmation side of things, since I'm not out. Like I would love to be able to go into town on the weekend, go shopping with the kids, do things like that. And I can't do that at the moment.
Well, so one of the questions that we did have, and sorry, girls, also Brie Rachel, I apologize if I'm monopolizing. One of the questions we did have is you do have a high visibility job. Like we're not going to say what you do, but you are highly visible in your community. How do you deal with that versus your like your transition? You have to
Well, this
hide both of them.
the simple answer to that is I don't deal with it because I'm not out at work yet. So that's all still to come. That joy is still to come. But I'm out to quite a few colleagues at work. I don't think there'll be an overt issue when I do come out. There's another trans doctor at my work, and they've navigated it reasonably well. Don't think they've had too many problems. But I know there'll be covert problems. So, it's the HR won't let somebody do something really blatant. But there will be issues with some people. And I know that, and I accept that. But that's fine. The big issue for me is what will happen with patients and my relationship with my patients. And I'm in a really strange situation at the moment where I'm seeing people, and I quite often bring people back for review in like a year's time. And there was a point where it was in June, where I was quite conscious that June 2024 will be when I come back after my facial surgery. These will be my first clinics coming back as Kezia. And that was a strange one, is to say, see you later. And some of these patients are ones who had seen me a year before when I was 28 kilos heavier. And they were commenting and saying, you look so different. I didn't even recognize you. And a little bit of me was just like, just you wait. And I'll see you in 2024. So,
You ain't seen nothing.
exactly. So I need to see how that goes.
Also,
And then the other part of my career is I do lecturing. And that will be really interesting to stand up in front of a room of 300 people. And
I'm so excited for you to come to a lecture at University of Virginia, and like, y'all should. So we'll do a everybody listening to the podcast right now, which is right now it's 3 people, but soon it will probably be a lot more. Everybody should come to the University of Virginia to hear Kizzy talk, do a lecture.
done.
Kizzy, those lights behind you are very distracting.
They're in like full game mode at the moment, which I love.
I
So yeah.
Okay. So I have. Oh, sorry, Rachel. Do you have a question? Sorry.
have a follow-up question.
Yeah, go for it.
So, like, I know you're not out at work, but are you out socially enough that sometimes you go out presenting as feminine?
Oh, does she?
In select circumstances, yeah. So
Okay.
I live most of my time at home presenting female.
Mhm.
And my kids are on board, they're supportive, they're actually really enjoying it. And my wife's supportive. And then I go out to other cities, and that might sound
Okay.
strange to people, where it's like, a 10-hour drive to the next city, but in Scotland it's 45 minutes to the next city.
Mhm.
So we quite often go away for weekends, and this summer's been really nice for me. I've had a bunch of Pride weekends, so been to two in Scotland, one in England, and had family and friends come along to them, and that I spend the whole weekend in girl mode, and it's that's the biggest difficulty for me with that at the moment is I go away for a weekend. It's exactly what I want to do. It's kind of, I recognize that it's also added on top of that. It's going to a Pride weekend, which is like another high. We quite often go out as well. So we're going out on nights out, and that like is like really good. And then I come home, and then the big dip down into being boy mode for the rest of the week is tough.
See,
How
and the
how does
reason
oh sorry, go ahead, Rachel.
I was gonna say the reason I asked was I let's see, like I started my transition kind of similar. Like I started my transition in April, but I didn't come out to my colleagues at work until December. And but I live out in the country, and the city that I work in was 45 minutes away. And at the time I was working in retail sales at a phone store. And I drove to town all jollied up. It was my off day, so I'm sitting here. I'm like, it's fine. Like, I'm just gonna go to get a coffee, go to the movies. Like, it's fine. And so I go to Starbucks, and three of my coworkers from the phone store, AT&T, just happened to be at Starbucks. And I'm sitting here. I'm like, well, this is awkward.
Hi.
But so I was wondering if, like, with you not being out at work, if you've had any experiences like that, but if you're going to, other cities, suppose that kind of saves you from that. So I was just curious.
Sort of. I mean, that's my worry, kind of presenting and going out in my home city, is that I'll
Yeah.
meet somebody, and then my work is, it's a rumor mill. So as soon as one person sees me, that's it, finished. And there's a little bit of me is just like, do you know what, they're going to know eventually. So if it happens, it happens, and I'll deal
Yeah.
with that. But if I can
Yeah.
keep it going covertly as long as possible, then fine. And just your story about meeting somebody. I was in a city in England, which is, it's probably 2 or 3 hours away, and we were there for the Pride weekend, and on the Sunday we went out for lunch, and we went to a dim sum restaurant. So my wife's from Singapore, so she quite likes the kind of Chinese Asian food. So we went to this
Mhm.
dim sum restaurant, which was in a little area of Newcastle. Went out there and sat down at the table, and my wife went, "That's my trainee sitting over there." And in a city 2 hours away from where we are, in a restaurant in a big city, we met her trainee, and she went over and said, "Yeah, by the way, my husband's trans." And she was like, "All right, okay, cool." But it was like, of all the eating holes in all the cities, we had to meet here.
That's crazy.
Yeah. But yeah, so that's one of my worries about being out and about.
For sure.
I have I have a question before we're almost at time, but like I have a question, Kizzy. Well, we're gonna go around and we're gonna do it. We're gonna start oldest, youngest. I'm gonna I probably won't end it, but anyways, we want what is the theme song of your transition? One song.
Um, "Work Bitch" by Britney Spears.
Okay.
No explanation
All the
needed.
know this is going on a new Spotify playlist. So
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
choose carefully.
Wait,
Okay.
what is it? Wait, Rachel, what'd you say?
I said I'm creating a new Spotify playlist based off of your answers. So choose carefully.
Oh yeah. So no. So Kizzy said,
Work Bitch by Britney
yeah.
Spears. That was my run motivator as well. When
And
Britney
then
says, "You want a fast car?" Yes, I do. You'd better work, bitch. Okay.
so Rachel, now it's your turn. So we
Oh,
went
no,
we went
Oh,
youngest
no.
honey,
looking to
you
youngest
last.
actual. So
Come back to me. Give me a minute here.
okay. Bree.
Yeah, Glades, blonde.
I love it. I love it. Mine is mine's Queen's Don't Stop Me Now. Don't
Ooh.
Nice.
stop me now. Except for my except for my hand.
Can
Oh,
I just make a quick interjection? I was in the supermarket yesterday and I had my headphones on and I Want to Break Free by Queen came on
oh my
and I was
god.
caught by at least
Oh,
three people doing a little dance and singing along to it.
it's such a good song. Also, so well, Kizzy, before we end this, can we just get like a breakdown of what's behind you right now? Because your lights are distracting the fan
This
pancakes
is
out of me.
new, and your background drip is just insane. And I know you're
Yeah. Can we
super
just
proud
like
of
It
it.
is new.
So break it down.
yeah, can we just like
Well,
hear about everything that's behind you? Good
it's
lord.
my museum of the fact that I'm a massive nerd. Uh, my Star Wars
Oh,
stuff. Wait, can I do
that
that?
was that was actually one of the other questions. What's your Spice Girl name?
I don't know. Do you have a nerdy spice?
Well, you can be a nerdy Spice. Yeah,
There we go.
yeah. Because apparently, according to Rachel, I'm Slutty Spice.
No comment.
Bree, what are you?
um, probably
I'd say you're like Diligent Spice. Like you're like the one who like you have like a 401k and like a like you're like you like know what you want out of life.
so boring spice.
No.
That's
Financially
aspirational. That's
prepared
aspirational.
spice. Senior spice.
No, wait, so Bree, what would you call yourself?
Of the Spice Girls.
No, like what kind of like so Kizzy is Nerdy Spice.
No, I've
I'm
just realized, Danny. I've realized I'm 40, so I'm Old Spice.
oh
Can we like animate Terry Crews busting through a wall?
son of a bee. Dang. Hey, Kizzy coming in from left field. Here we go. No,
Yummy.
okay, so Bree, so Nerdy Spice is now available if you want that one.
Oh, oh, um, oh my goodness. What the hell am I? Confused Spice? Forgetful Spice?
Rachel was just look at them boobies, Spice. Good
Oh my
lord.
God, they're moving on their own.
Jeez Louise. Ugh.
Distractions.
Still got they still got they still got some bounce to them.
um yeah.
Oh God.
Anyways, so yeah, so I guess do we have any you want to close it out?
I'm a double back. I'm a double back. Um, the song of my transition
Oh yeah.
saved it. The song of my transition would be "This Is Me" from The Greatest Showman.
Oh,
Oh, beautiful. Oh wow. Well done. Well done.
And if as far as what spice am I,
Yeah, which Spice Girl?
it's a lock. It's a tie here. Between I'll let the community decide here. It's a tie between Sporty Spice and
Yeah, I
Barbie
see
Spice.
it. I see that. I see that. I may send y'all a message about another person who wants to be Sporty Spice, but we will not talk about.
Lord Almighty.
We will
Already
not.
know.
We will not discuss said person here. But
Ooh,
anyway,
Voldemort.
so Rachel, do you wanna send us out? Reed, do you want to send either one of y'all send us
I'll
out?
do it. I'll do it.
Do the closeout.
Doing the closeout. This has been the Girl Dad Girls. Kizzy, thank you for joining us. You've
Thank
been
you
an
very much for
absolute
having me.
delight, and you continue to be so. We are looking very forward to having you back again. We were considering doing it after your surgery was done, just to have a reunion episode.
When my social transition is finished.
Yeah. And I will end by saying, going back to your Pride stuff, your photos from Pride gave me life. They got me through a lot of tough times. I just go back and look at those. Anybody else who wants to go look,
Totally.
Izzy_Whizzle, and you'll have a better time after looking at all of her amazing stuff on there.
Yeah. Kizzy, thanks for being you're a positive influence for all of us. So thanks.
Yeah.
Thank you. You all support me too. Keep me going.
Lovely.
Oh,
lady.
we love you. But all right. Well, bye everybody. Bye.
This has been a production of Girl Dad Girls Podcast. Check out new episodes every Thursday. If you are interested in knowing more, please email info@girldadgirls.com or find us on Instagram @girldadgirls. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.